Scott Boras this offseason is making headlines for what he isn't doing or hasn't done. And that is no deals for some of the top free agents that are still available on the market. Blake Snell, J.D. Martinez, Matt Chapman, Cody Bellinger, Jordan Montgomery, as of recording, all without a team. Maybe, hopefully, by the time you see this, if it's been a couple of days, one or multiple of these players will have a deal, and that'll be a great thing. Spring training is underway. We got to get these players in camp. So to commemorate this Scott Boras cluster F, I've decided let's take a look at the 5 worst deals that Scott Boras has inked. Now, these are not bad for the players. These are bad for you, the fans, and for the franchises. Because when a team gets handcuffed by a Scott Boras contract, it can be hard to right the ship, turn things around, and get headed in a positive direction. So we are going to take a look at the 5 worst deals. We're going to start with some honorable mentions, though. And we are going to begin in Boston with J.D. Drew. In 2007, he inked a 5-year, $70 million contract, and it was evident right away. See that 796 OPS in 2007. And over the life of the contract, he really only gave Boston 2 good years. 2008 seemed like the most promising, but he only played 109 games that year. J.D. Drew kicks us off as our first honorable mentions. Next up, it's Jason Worth. In December of 2010, Worth signed a 7-year, $126 million contract with the Nats. Now, blame the Nats here for signing him to a 7-year deal heading into his age 32 season. Nats fans did like him for the most part, but of those 7 seasons, he was really only healthy for 4 of them, and that's giving him the 2013 season. And coming off of 3 really good years in Philly, he only replicated that maybe twice over the 7 years in Washington. Next up, another honorable mention, it's Prince Fielder. In January of 2012, he signed a 9-year, $214 million contract with the Detroit Tigers. He's here as an honorable mention because his career was cut short due to injury. After being one of the most durable players in all of baseball. Look at all those 162s. He played at least 157 games every year from 2006 to 2013, and then the injuries started. And in 2016, his season ended when he underwent neck surgery to repair a herniated disc, and he never made it back. It's too bad. It really is, because Prince Fielder was fantastic, and I argue if he had continued on that track into his 30s, he would have been pushing for the Hall of Fame. Next, our final honorable mention is Kris Bryant. He signed a 7-year, $182 million contract in March of 2022 with the Colorado Rockies. Now, you're probably thinking, how is he not in the top 5? And really the only reason is because it's just been 2 years of this contract. And number 5, that's going to kick us off at the top 5, the deal's already complete. We've seen the full run for that one. But for Bryant, he cashed in on that somewhat bounce back 2021 season. But, the signs had been there to try to avoid this type of a deal. And in his first 2 years at Colorado, just isn't going well, can't stay healthy. And as he's entering his age 32 season, health doesn't usually pick up the farther you get into your 30s. Hopefully, maybe it will for Chris. All right, here we go. Let's get to number 5. Number 5 is Barry Zito. Before the 2007 season, he inked a 7-year, $126 million contract with the Giants. After 3 all-star seasons in Oakland and a Cy Young in 2002, he just didn't produce the same number with the Giants. Only in 2012 did he finish the season with a winning record. And in Oakland, all those seasons, only once did he post an ERA over 4, but in San Francisco, he couldn't get it below 4. Let's move on to number 4, and it is Alex Rodriguez. You remember this in October of 2007. He opted out of the remaining 3-year, $66 million contract with the Yankees to then about 6 weeks later sign a 10-year, $275 million contract. During that 10-year stretch, we saw skill regression, injuries, a PED suspension. He couldn't even finish out the contract. Yankee fans hated him. Now, you may want him higher on this list. You may think he should be number 1, but just wait. Just wait, because 3 All-Stars, 4 30-homer seasons. I mean, look at the OPS. The first couple of years were over 900. We were getting some decent production. We were getting injuries as well, but we were getting production when he was out there. That's going to feel like a lot in a minute. 137, 124, 138 games. That's going to feel like a lot in just a minute. Let's get to number 3. Number 3 is Chris Davis. January 16, 2016, he signed a 7-year, $161 million contract with Baltimore. He had already shown in 2014 how bad it could get. You see a 196 batting average that year, still 26 home runs, but we were seeing strikeouts. We were seeing all of the signs. But in 2015, 47 homers, a 923 OPS. Baltimore got excited again, despite all of the strikeouts. In 2016, he did manage, the first year of that contract, he did manage 38 homers, but the warning signs were all over the place, going off, blaring. More strikeouts. The strikeout rate increased. And an OPS that at 923 in 2015 looked good was down to 792. And that was basically it. Within 2 years, we all started feeling bad for Chris Davis and how much he was struggling, how he couldn't hit the baseball. And in the end, he couldn't even play out the contract, but the Orioles still had to pay it. The O's got hosed here. Let's move on to number 2, Anthony Rendon. December 11, 2019, signed a 7-year, $245 million contract with the Angels. How's it been going? Well, he hasn't played more than 58 games in any of those seasons. Angel fans can cling on to that 2020 season when he played 52 out of 60 games and finished 10th in American League MVP voting. But he's been unable to stay on the field. He's been taking swats at fans. He's been out here talking about, he's been a foot in mouth poster child with his conversations about shortening the season and not making baseball a priority. Gotta hate this one if you're an Angels fan. But it's not number 1. There's still time. Maybe 2024 is his year. Maybe he bounces back. Number 1, no. I don't think there's a bounce back. And this contract, this player's still active, technically. Number 1, it's Steven Strasburg. Steven Strasburg in December of 2019 signed a 7-year, $245 million contract with the Nats, coming off that World Series where he led the team to that championship, was one of the leaders of that of the Nats for that championship. How's it been going since then? Well, he can't stay on the field. He literally can't play anymore. And it's too bad because it is injury related. And you maybe say, well, Jim, Prince Fielder was injury related and you kept him as an honorable mention. The problem here is that we saw it coming. Steven Strasburg, before signing that contract, made all his starts, or close to all his starts, 2 times, maybe 3 times. 3 times. 2013, 2014, and 2019. There were always injury problems. He was always missing starts. Dominant pitcher, but the injury risks were there. To sign him heading into his age 31 season to a 7-year contract was just a bad job by the Washington Nationals. But the pressure was there coming off of a World Series. We got to keep our guy. He's coming off the best season we have had from him. He's the franchise. Got to lock him up. But Scott Boras took the Nats for a ride. 7 for 245, and he has, since then, made 8 starts. And we don't know if he's going to ever start another game in Major League Baseball again. Comment below. What are your worst Scott Boras contract memories? I'm sure he's impacted your team. Comment down below. Let the rest of the community know what stings the most for you. Are you an O's fan and you remember that Chris Bryant deal? Are you a Nats fan and you knew that Strasburg deal was a mistake in the moment? Comment down below and let me and everybody know what you're thinking. That's it for this one, everybody. I do appreciate you coming in. Ballcap Nation, I salute you. Make sure to hit that like on the way out. Remember, as always, if it's low, let it go. And if it's high, let it fly.